I would say enjoy the ride, right? And I think like through those years, I was like extremely stressed through those tough times, and I would get so frustrated, and like there were times where I would just like go through these like states of like really true like depression for sure, like not being able to sleep, like not knowing what the fuck I was gonna do, and like just figure out a way to enjoy the journey, enjoy the day to day, and like as long as you wake up every day and you put your best foot forward, you're gonna fucking figure it out, right? There's nothing we're doing here is gonna kill us. Like the running a podcast isn't gonna kill us. Running a bike business is gonna kill me. Some shit might happen, things might not go your way, but like it's not gonna kill you. So like enjoy the journey and put your best foot forward every day, and you'll figure it out. As long as what you're doing, you're happy with what you're doing, and you're passionate about what you're doing, you'll figure it the fuck out.
Purpose in the Youth. Purpose in the Youth podcast. Welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only, Bobby. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only, Bobby. Today in the building, Jimmy Standley. What's good, baby?
How we doing, baby?
Dude,
thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure, my man. President, founding partner of Soleil Bicycles.
Yes, sir.
I was going to give you shit for pulling up today, not on a Soleil bicycle, but because you came in with the van and you brought the bearded man his own bike, you get the clearance. You get the clearance, my man.
Yes.
Dude, thank you so much for the bike, man.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. I wasn't going to come all the way over here and not bring you a bike.
Dude,
we got to get you dialed up.
Fired up. And it was matching too, the white.
It was matching. He was wearing the white and the black. The bike's got the black wheels, white frame.
Describe to me what that bike was. And we'll get into like more of the details of Soleil and the bikes later. But what is specific about this bicycle that you brought me today?
For sure. So this was the first bike that we came out with, the single speed fixed gear bike. And I say single speed fixed gear because it comes on the single speed side, but it has a flip-flop hub, so you can actually switch the back tire and make it a fixed gear bike. I put on the single speed for you, so you can coast on it, work your way up to it. But yeah, this is the bike we started the company with. This is it's the lightest bike we have. It's the fastest. It's our
like perfect. It's like the
model.
go-to.
Yeah, it's our best. It's our go-to bike.
And I love that you guys ship all these bikes to people, which is incredible because it goes right to people's doorsteps and it
90%
makes it
assembled, super easy. Comes with all the tools.
Super easy.
Yeah, it takes about 15 minutes to put together.
Is there a how-to video with you showing people?
Not me.
Oh,
There's a guy on our team that's got great hands, so we plugged him in. Brian's got great. He's a hand model, so he comes in.
Shout out to Brian. Great hands, brother. Gotta get him a brand deal with Dove soap. You know what I mean? Show off the hands.
So Brian does all the build videos, but yeah, go on our website. You can watch the video, see how to build it up.
That
Super
is incredible,
easy.
man.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm so excited to have you here today, man. This is going to be a great podcast, and it's
totally.
your first podcast.
This is my first podcast.
Let's go.
I've been listening to podcasts for years, but this will be the first one I get to be a part of.
Dude,
so super stoked.
I hope, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, strap on your seatbelt, strap on your bike helmet if you got one, because we're going to deep dive today on this podcast. Born and raised in Denver, Colorado.
Yes, sir.
I've been there once. Love the city.
Great city.
Honestly, I drove through it, so I can't say I've really been there. I saw Bronco Stadium, was kind of like putting my head down because Massachusetts. We won't go there.
Let's go.
But I went to, I was out in Boulder one time, and that was a great experience. But describe to me what this is like. Like, what's it like to grow up in Denver? What was it like for you?
For sure. So Denver is like a Midwest city, very like good people, great, the Sunshine State. We have like over 300 days of sun per year.
Actually, 300?
Yeah, over 300.
See, people like me would think, no, we just think you guys are cold year round.
You're at altitude, so like, I mean, maybe we're close to the sun, maybe that was, I don't know the science behind it, but over 300 days of sun per year. Winter, you got like the winter sports, you got skiing, snowboarding, some of the best in the world. Summers, you got like, go bike riding, go to the river, Red Rocks. If you're a music fan, I grew up 10 minutes from Red Rocks, so that was like a huge like inspiration for me growing up. But yeah, all good people, like just like that good Midwest vibe, like everyone is just like really good to each other. And I grew up in a much more like suburban town. So like a just great place to grow up, great family. Yeah, so it's a cool city.
What did your parents do?
My father was a lawyer. My mother was a nurse, and then I have two brothers, one sister. So one of the brothers, Tyler, he came out and went to school at Chapman with me. And
Is he older or younger?
He's younger. I'm the oldest. Yeah.
So you were holding the torch. You were holding the torch for the fam.
Yeah, I was the first to come out to Cali, and then Tyler came, and then Matthew came. And Megan unfortunately didn't. Megan stayed in Denver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Tyler's 26 next week.
Okay.
Sneak it up on us. Matthew and Megan are 22, twins.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, the twins of the fam.
Yeah. But yeah, all smart guys, all smart kids. Tyler's traveling the world right now. He's like a remote computer engineer, developer.
I respect anybody that can craft that lifestyle and just travel the world, work remotely.
I went to visit him 2 weeks ago, and I was just he's in South America right now, so we went to Bolivia and Chile.
How was that?
Oh man.
First time over there, I'm guessing.
Yeah. So Bolivia, we went and rented a Jeep and did a 4-day Jeep tour across the Atacama Desert to the Bolivian salt flats. Place is crazy. I mean, so the Bolivian salt flats, it's like miles and miles and miles of just like nothing but salt. Like it's a craziest
I think
thing.
I saw your Instagram stories of that, and I was like, what the hell is it? Where is he?
And then the desert, you feel like you're on Mars because you're at like 15,000 feet above sea level.
Wow.
So like Denver's 5,000, and 15,000 is higher than like most mountains in Denver, right? Like we were getting headaches because of the altitude.
Wow.
And so
you have to wear oxygen masks?
No, you don't have to do that.
Not that serious.
You have like one beer and you're like feeling a little crazy. But
so you guys on the moon tonight.
So anyway, yeah, we were doing that, and like that was amazing. And then we went back to Santiago, and then flew over to Easter Island, which is, Easter Island's like where those little statues, the Moai statues are.
Oh, okay.
Out in the middle. It's like one of the most remote islands in the world.
Wow.
So did that the second weekend, and I'm like, got back, and I'm just like, fuck.
Now
these guys are just doing this. They've been down there for 7 months now.
Wow.
Yeah, we did a couple months in Colombia, a couple months in Buenos Aires, and now they're in Costa Rica.
Dude, that's amazing. Just to be able to travel the world like that and see different parts, and your perspective on life just changes while everyone else is so in the motion of doing the same thing over and over. You're just out living the life.
The thing too is like it's so much easier than it used to be now because like there's so many more flights. And that's brought the cost down significantly, and like it's the barriers to entry to leave. It's just so much easier now. So I don't know. It's like one thing I really stand by, and it's like something I've done a lot of. I mean, since I started with Soleil, I was the guy that was going over to China early on to do all that.
You're like this, raising your hand.
We need
one of the 5 of us to go, I'm going.
So I've flown like over 600,000 miles in like the last 9 years.
Yo, that's crazy.
So I've been all over, and it's
crazy.
But it's something I stand by, right? It's like it's great to get out and like give you a different perspective, but it also helps me reset like when I'm on the road, and like because when I'm here in LA and Venice, like you get in the motion, the day-to-day grind, and you like really hone in on like these sort of day-to-day projects or fires. But like whenever I leave, it's like sort of a reset where I kind of like take a step back from that. I can have like sort of bigger, higher level thinking, especially on planes, man. Like the amount of times I've been on that 16-hour flight to Hong Kong, and they just started putting Wi-Fi on these planes. So then it was like
you're just sitting in your thoughts, reading a book.
Like how often do you have 16 hours to just sit and have thoughts to yourself, right? Yeah. Like when's the last time you did that?
No.
It's a super powerful thing though. It's a super powerful thing just to like sit back and like not be connected to anything and just like let your thoughts run a little bit,
Yeah.
So something I've always like, no matter how busy I am, like I always got to find a way to like get out and like just get that reset at least every couple months.
And you're getting that, and it's good to get out, but it's definitely a good place to be, like Venice Beach, where you have that kind of energy and the sunshine and the vibes out there.
You come back to like a vacation. It's like you're coming back to a vacation from your vacation.
Let me tell you right now, when the bearded man lives in Venice at some point in his life, you better sound the alarms. You better call the Venice PD, because I'm going to be
riding Soleil around.
I'll be riding my Soleil. I'll be riding my Soleil. When you were growing up in Denver, though, growing up in a city like that where you have access to all these mountains and there's so much outdoors, and obviously you can play sports, what are you gravitating towards? Are there any certain hobbies or activities?
For sure. Skiing was huge for me growing up, like a big ski guy, just because it was, an hour away. You can get in the mountains, and
these are big. These are the big deal. These
are world-class mountains, like Vail, Breckenridge, Keystone. So that was a big part of my life. Lacrosse, like sports and lacrosse specifically, were like a really big part of my life, which sort of helped carve the path for where I went later in life. But I grew up playing on like competitive teams. I went and played on a high school team that was like playing in the state championship, and
so you guys were lit.
We were good. So, our senior year, it was fun. And it was like lacrosse was growing so much from when I started. I started and it was like there was like, we were on a team of like second, third, fourth, fifth graders all on one team to like, and I think the tournament we were playing in, there was like 20 teams. And then by the time I was in 8th grade, it was like 800 teams or something crazy like that. It like blew up in Colorado. Because traditionally it was a big East Coast sport.
Yeah.
Started to make its way west. And so we kind of just rode that wave. And so that was a big part of my life. Music was a big part of my life, you know, being right there at Red Rocks. And when I was like 4 years old, my mother, she made me start playing the piano. I fucking hated it. I was like, I don't want to fucking do this.
And you still did it though? You still did it?
I'd have to drive like an hour every Tuesday to this like to piano lessons on the other side of town. I was just like, this is so fucking stupid. I hate this so much.
How long did you end up doing it for?
Well, I did it I took the lessons all the way up into high school, and then I ended up playing in a band in high school. I stuck with it like a Blink-182 cover band.
Love it. I love it.
And then that parlayed into like, got into electronic music, ended up learning how to DJ in college, and like it was just something like music's always been a part of my life. And then also when I was in college, it was crazy. You had like you had your 18 courses or whatever, and like so you'd always take the 15 or whatever that you needed. But at Chapman they had this thing where you could take an hour course and have it be like a private piano lesson, which normally that would be extremely expensive, but you could just have it be one of your hour courses. So I got back into it and got like real a concert pianist level.
Well, now because you're DJing, right? So you're probably like, I can utilize this to learn.
Yeah, totally. You have to understand like the music theory and stuff to like, you know, mix properly and produce music properly. And so, yeah, I just like stuck with that, and that ended up, you know, we'll get into it, but like that kind of helped lead me into my first business and the first thing that I really had built before Soleil.
So what was the inspiration for going to Chapman? Why go to California in the first place?
Yeah. So I was playing lacrosse all through school, and you know, I had a lot of friends that were staying in state, like going to the CU or the CSU, and then I had a few friends that got lacrosse scholarships, and I had actually got offered some money to go play, or, you know, scholarships to go play like on some smaller East Coast D3 teams. And, you know, I went to visit the schools, and I was just like, fuck, man, like these little towns in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
like,
quiet, there's nothing to do.
It's cold, and I'm just like, oh, fuck. And I'd, like, growing up, all through high school, we had done every spring break trip was like out to California to play all the California teams. And I had this, like, these memories of just like driving down the coast, listening to like Red Hot Chili Peppers, and like just in my mind I was always like, I gotta get out here. Like, I know this, I don't know what it is, but there's something drawing me here. And so it just had always stuck with me. And, you know, as I was going through high school and like figuring out, you know, where I was going to go to school, I started to, you know, look at California schools and just like apply to them, knowing like, okay, I want to play lacrosse, but, you know, there's not really like there's not even like really D3 or D1 lacrosse out here, but there was like a ton of like MCLA club Division 1, which was actually like really competitive, like club lacrosse. So
were you cool with that? You were down.
I was cool with that because it was like,
you still just wanted to play, but to you it didn't really matter if it was going to be for the actual school or if it was going to be club.
I was like, you know, like what, that go to a D3 school and be at one of these smaller schools and be like, hey, you know, not be super stoked in my life, or like be at a D1 and be in some big university, you know, 10 minutes from the beach in Newport, like the most beautiful campus.
Come on.
So like I'm applying all these Santa Clara, Chapman, LMU, you know, USC, all these schools.
So you knew Southern California at least. You weren't going northern at all.
I mean, Santa Clara I applied to, so that's kind of like Palo Alto.
That's not northern though. That's not like you weren't applying anywhere to San Fran or like Sacramento.
No. So yeah, I mean, SoCal definitely I was drawn to it just because of like the sunshine, man. Like winter was so tough for me. I was just like, it would get so miserable, and like the idea of like having it be summertime all the time was just a great thing.
And once you get a taste of living out here through one winter, that's what I always tell people. Once you live out here for one winter, you're never going back.
It's like 70 degrees out in December, and your body's like, what the fuck? What is going on right now? And like after that, it's just like,
it's just a game changer.
It's hard to go back.
So in college, so at Chapman, you are a business major.
Yeah.
You're DJing, and you're also playing lacrosse. That's like the main focus right there.
Yeah. So I had I eventually went to Chapman because they had a good lacrosse team. I got a good scholarship, educational scholarship, because they, you know, it's club, they can't give you sports scholarships. So I decided to go to Chapman on a whim. So I come out and I'm playing lacrosse, DJing, like getting involved in the social scene. And Chapman's kind of like, it was like a big high school. I think it was like 5,000 students. So
I looked. Like, it's at around 6,200.
So maybe
that's recently. So maybe it's grown a little bit.
It's probably grown a little bit, but yeah, call it 6,000 students. So
it's a good. Is high school 2.0?
Yeah, there's high schools in Denver that have like 5,000 kids in it. So, but I like that experience because it was like you could meet new people every day.
Yeah.
But you also would be like everywhere you went, you knew someone, you know?
Yeah.
So like and everyone was so like, it was a great experience. Like there wasn't a lot of like hatred across social groups or whatever. Like everyone got along really well. You know, our social group would have been the lacrosse team, got along with all the other sororities, fraternities. Like we were all really, close. And like, it was a small little like, have you ever been to Chapman or been to Orange?
I haven't been. I've been through Orange, but I haven't actually been to Chapman. Yeah. I know Como. He went to Chapman, so I've talked about like the actual school itself, but I've never actually been.
It's
over
just
there.
like this small, quaint little town, like 100-year-old town. All the houses have like a ton of character, and like it's just a really cool, nice little spot. So it was a great college experience. And yeah, so I'm going there my freshman year, playing lacrosse out there.
Yeah.
Start getting into DJing.
Dude, athlete and making music.
Yeah.
And the girls are loving you there, I bet.
We're having fun. We're having fun. But anyway.
That's the After Dark podcast for another day.
So anyway, so my freshman year we're playing, and it's like the semifinals of like the national championships or something. And like we're warming up. I'm the goalie. I play goalie, and we're warming up, and like we had a couple guys on the team that shot like over 100 miles an hour, and this one dude just like takes a shot like that's gonna go right here, and so as the goalie you kind of turn you can put your hand over the top, and the ball just hit right on top of my thumb, ends up shattering my thumb, like completely shatters it to the point where they were like had to bring in cadaver bone and rebuild the whole thing.
What the?
Yeah, it was brutal. So that put me out, and that was the first. I was kind of spooked on it because that's the first time I ever broke a bone, and I was like, I'd been pretty bulletproof, like taking a lot of shots, never really had gotten, hurt like that. And that was like, I couldn't even pick up a stick for 6 months. So I went through all that and like finally was able to pick up a stick again. I'm like, but it just wasn't the same. And so, I'm just like, it just in my head, I'm like, fuck, do I want to keep, doing this, or like, do I want to start to try to, think about like, what do I want to do with my life, right? And I had seen my father build a business, and it was super inspirational, and I really I always was asking him questions, and I was learning about I was just so curious about it. I thought the concept was so cool, and so funny enough, I'm like trying to get back into lacrosse, but then there's this guy by the name of Chad Donnelly, and I had actually been on a traveling lacrosse team that we had gone to like Europe, played lacrosse in Europe right out of high school. We played in Australia, we played in Japan.
Amazing.
And that kind of gave me that travel itch.
Oh, I got you.
But then, so we were playing all over the world, and I had stayed in touch with this guy. I mean, he had this idea. He was from Denver as well. Mm-hmm. He had come up with this idea we had been to Coachella a bunch, and he's like, Jimmy, why is there not a Coachella, but in the mountains of Denver, Colorado, right? And like where we grew up skiing. And so, he had came up with this idea called Snowball, and he wanted to, put a music festival where people could go skiing during the day, music, in the afternoon, little parties in the ski town at night.
Perfect.
And so he knew I was into music. He knew I was into DJing. I had my pulse on the music scene.
Yeah.
I'd also been running like a little music blog on the side too.
And you skied growing up, you said, right?
I skied growing up.
Yeah.
And so like he was always bouncing ideas like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this artist? Like, and it was just like more of like friendly banter. But then this is all happening while I'm like trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And I like one day it just like clicked with me. I'm just like, you know what? Like I'm just going to call Chad and be like, yo, let me help you do this. Like, I'll be your first employee, like whatever. So I just called him. I was like, you don't have to pay me. Like, I'm in college. Like, I just want to be a part of this. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen, but I just know like we're onto something, and I love this. Right. And I'm super stoked about it. And so I was the first, intern employee, whatever you want to call it, for Snowball. And that would have been fall of my sophomore year of college. And so I rode through that, ended up quitting lacrosse. I was just like, I'm just going to focus on my career. I'm going to focus on personal development.
Yeah. So
quit lacrosse, and then there was like a interterm that January of my sophomore year. So we had like a month where you could either take a class or take it off. I ended up spending all of January in Denver helping prep for the event. The event was in March of that spring, my sophomore year. put together an insane lineup, and it was really like a team of 5 of us. Plus, we brought AEG on to kind of help on the operational side. But we had we had Flaming Lips, Edward Sharp and Magnetic Zeros, Bass Nectar, Pretty Lights, Diplo, Portugal the Man,
for the
Afro
first
Man.
festival. Usually, most of these festivals, you have to build your way up. Like people see Coachella today, and they see the huge names, but you go back 10 years ago, and they probably had a very small lineup.
Yeah, so this would have been 2011. Yeah, it's 2011.
So this is the early. You're right. See, this is where it changes. This is early for Diplo and all these guys' careers.
I mean, the artist cost from year 1 to year 2 would like triple, because this was like also the year. This was 2011 was the first year that Coachella sold out for the first time. So prior to 2011, you could actually roll up to Coachella and you could
just
buy
a ticket around
like
going to a movie theater,
or buy like a 1-day pass or whatever. Right?
What a concept that is.
Yeah, and so like I remember. Yeah. So we were like going to Coachella, and like that was the first year it sold out, and that's when EDM started to really take off, and this whole thing shifted, and like the whole music festival thing really like blew up, and we kind of caught that wave. So
how did the first year do though? We were
profitable our first year, which is unheard of for like a big event like that. Yeah, we knocked it out of the park. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
It was epic.
So after that happens, do you end up just figuring, okay, I'm gonna just go to school but continue to focus on this?
So this is how it progresses.
This is where it gets interesting.
Yeah. So we helped we raised money for the event just through friends and family and through local connections.
How much do you think at the time?
How much to put the event on?
Yeah, how much did you need to raise? If you had to take a ballpark guess, 50,000.
No, it was like a couple $100,000.
Damn.
And I wasn't dealing with the finances, so I was like,
you were just getting everybody in.
But a couple $100,000. And so
it's a risk. Definitely a risk to take.
For sure. Yeah. But we pulled it off.
This ain't in Jimmy's backyard. This is
it was a budget on it. It was a significant budget. Yeah, this is a big production.
Okay, I'm not trying
15,000 people came out.
I'm not trying to undermine. I'm not trying to knock what you guys did, but damn, I didn't realize to the scale of like that.
It was a big time. It was a big time.
For year one.
Yeah. So anyway, we had raised money through friends and family, and 2 of the guys that we had got money through were SC guys and buddies of Chad, funny enough, through the lacrosse worlds, Jake Medwell and Jonathan Schriftman. And so through that, we link up at the festival. We buddy up. Obviously, we're both they're at SC, I'm at Chapman, and we just like hit it off. And they're telling me about this business idea that they're like just getting off the ground. They're just talking about. And so we like stay in touch. And then that summer, event ends in March, May, school ends, and I'm like, all right, this is my first summer out in LA. Like, I gotta find some, I want to, do something out here. I want to stay out here. I don't really want to go back to Denver. Like, I need to get my footing out here. And so we had reconnected with Jake and John. They're like, hey, we need like a more ops driven sort of person. Like, they were much more pie in the sky, like idea guys. Mm-hmm. I'm more grounded, like, all right, let's figure out how to actually make this shit happen.
Yeah.
And so I linked up with them, and I was like brought in to kind of help out on Soleil, right? And this was just as it was starting, right?
It's like 2011. Is this 2011 or
2011? Yeah,
2011. Okay.
2011. This is when we just started like selling bikes, right?
The concept for them came together. I think it was like 2009.
2009.
Okay, so they were just kind of brewing on the idea for 2 years.
And doing R&D, and then it really, like, that summer it took off. We had a big Forbes article hit, and it was crazy. It was like early on we didn't even know, like, at the time they had a website set up where we couldn't even control inventory. So like we had that Forbes article hit, and we're selling bikes we don't even have. Like, we did like $100,000 in sales, and like we're like we don't even have any of these bikes. So we end up having we're all processing through PayPal, and we had to refund like $50,000. PayPal like shuts our account down, and it's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, what is this? You refund? It was crazy.
It's one thing to like commit fraud, but you guys are like selling and then giving the money back.
Yeah.
What's the issue here?
Like, no, yeah. Or we would like be like, hey, sorry, we're out of stock of that bike. Try to give them another bike. So that that just gives you an idea of like, all right, we got to come in and got to rein this shit in. Like, all right, this is a real business here. And so we all worked together on it that summer, and Jonathan had just graduated. Jonathan was a year out of school. Jake had just graduated, and they had a friend that they had grown up with that actually went out and they raised a bunch of money for another business, like a ton of money for a business called Human. So then fall comes around, and they're like, hey, listen, Jimmy, and I'm going into my junior year of college. They're like, hey, listen, Jimmy, we just raised a bunch of money for this other business. Like, we got to go, but we want you to take over the company. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Your junior year.
Junior year after working there for 3 months. Yeah. So I was like, I gotta, I can't turn this down. So it was just me for a while, and then my buddy Ben Petralia, who I was running the music blog with, one of my good friends at Chapman, I brought him in because he's like a great marketing guy.
What was the music blog by the name?
It was called Cult Culture. You can find it on YouTube or Facebook.
Maybe. I got you.
Just
want to make sure we document the name of it.
Yeah, Cult Culture. We had a little run there. It was great. But
it's coming back 2020. Don't worry.
2030. Wait. Yeah. Anyway, so bring Ben Petralia in, and then we get linked up with Brian Rubin, who's good friends with Jake and team. Ryan Mick was another Chapman kid. He was our graphic designer. And then this guy, Michael Stone, was brought in. He was like our kind of fill-in CFO. Build out this like little team, and we're all kind of like hustling it. And that's like, then it was off to the races.
Dude,
man.
I'm just blown away the fact that like these guys have this concept. They kind of bring you in for that summer, and then they get funded to run another business. Like I would just want to go all in on one, but they're now like, okay, we have this, you work on this, and we're going to just try this. I mean, it just sounds like they're true entrepreneurs that have these ideas and want to bring it to life.
For sure.
But what do you think, like, what was pulling you in? Obviously, you're looking for an opportunity. Now they're giving you an opportunity to run the company. You're going into your junior year of college. What did you see in Soleil that was like, I should do this. I need to take this opportunity?
For sure. I mean, yeah, we had spent a summer like building this up, and just to see all the success we were having, and like, I mean, what we were developing, it really like resonated with me, right? Because we were developing these bikes and building these bikes. Like, we weren't the traditional bike guys. Like, you think of a bike company, it's a very tech-oriented, spec-oriented sort of like industry, and like a very kind of nose in your air industry. If you go to like Interbike or these places, like, it's a pretentious industry, and we weren't those kind of guys. Like, we were the guys who were riding bikes, to music events, to the coffee shop, to go, on casual bar hops with friends.
You guys are rolling around with a 6-pack in the other
right?
hand.
And like, but that there's a huge market of people out there that like maybe grew up riding bikes and then got out of it and want to get back into riding bikes, but it's super intimidating to go into a shop and like get sold on this over
$2,000 for a bike.
Yeah, it's got all this crap on it, and you're just like, it's just a lot. Versus we want to make something that's like very simple, easy to use, easy to maintain. It's not going to break the bank.
Yeah.
And it looks fucking good when you're riding, right? And that was like, it resonated with me, and I loved riding my bike around, and I love the brand. I love what we were developing, and it was an amazing opportunity for me. I was like, I can't turn this down. I can't say no. So I said, let's do this, and like rode with it. And
wow, literally rode with it. Literally rode with it. So the next 2 years while you're in school, are you just you're going to classes and you're running this business full time?
For sure, yeah. Go to class full time for a year and a half, and then I took front loaded credits, and then like did some online stuff, so I was able to get out of school half year early.
Wow. And
yeah, we were like all running it remote. We didn't have an office. Like, Benny graduated. He was a year older than me, so then he moved up to Venice. And then Brian was on the west side too, and Jake and John were also based in Venice. And like, that really helped us to like, we want to establish the brand as a Venice Beach brand. And that's like, that was what really helped develop the brand, because it's like, Venice is like the melting pot of California, arguably like the US, right? Like, you have all walks of life there. You have homeless people taking a shit right outside your shop. You got people like David Rothschild that's like right down the street, and all these like tech entrepreneurs and fashion entrepreneurs and musicians, artists. Like, you have all walks of life in this little like 2 mile by 2 mile pocket. And for us, like, that also really resonated with the brand. Those are the people we're connecting with. Those are the people that we want to be a part of and partner with and like build a community around them. And so Ben had gone up there, Brian had gone up there, and that was like really drawing us all together. We ended up getting our first shop there and our first office, and then eventually our first shop. And really, it like, we want to develop ourselves as a Venice Beach brand, and that's really built in like that. That's the lifestyle aspect, a big part of the lifestyle aspect of Soleil.
Yeah. What was the conversation like for developing? Because I think right now you guys have, I believe it's 6 different styles. You have the single speed fixed gear, which is what we got today. The bearded bike. Let's get it. The Dutch step through, the city cruiser, the 3-speed city cruiser, coastal cruiser, coastal cruiser step through. What was the thought process in creating all these different bikes? Because you could have just said, screw it, we're just going to stick to one type and try to hit every market.
For sure. Started with the single speed, obviously. then we built into the city bike. We want to offer something that's a little bit more of an upright ride, the city cruisers, because when you're riding the fixed gear, you're going to be a little bit more hunched over. It's going to be more of an aggressive ride. So we wanted something that's still stylish, still fit within the branding, but a little bit more for people that wanted more of an upright ride.
Yeah.
And then that developed into the Dutch Step 2, which is kind of the same components as the city bike, but it's got the downward slanting top bar, so it's
a little
more
bit more
unisex friendly, easy to get on and off. And then the 3-speed was just the next version of the city bike, because people wanted multiple speeds. So we're dealing with hills in like San Francisco, and then we ended up opening our shop at USC's campus. So that was our second shop, and there, like, people love beach cruisers. We called ours the Coastal Cruiser, because we're based on the coast, but so we developed sort of our version of the beach cruiser for the launch of that store, and that's like been the top seller there.
That's a big one right there.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I mean, so you guys start obviously in Southern California. How quickly does this start to pop up in other cities? Like, you were just talking about how you were in Chicago like a week or two ago, and you spotted 4 of your actual bikes, which has got to be mind blowing to see that happen. But it starts in LA. Where do you see it start to grow after that?
For sure. So early on, the business was like we sold in some shops around LA, but like we had always had the website, and we were like early on in doing like Facebook ads and like figuring out how to like build a brand online. So like we'd been shipping all over the US since the start. New York's always been our second biggest market. California's first. Huge. But like Chicago, Denver, Florida, Texas, like all big markets for us. And then we had some good partnerships early on with like some of these sites like fab.com and like gilt.com really helped us like get a ton of bikes out there. Because what we found is like the best sort of way to the best form of marketing for our product is just the product itself. So it's like the more bikes we get out there, the people start to touch and feel them, and then they become advocates of us. And like that's really how we kind of were able to organically grow the brand, because we never raised money. Like we did this all bootstrapped. And like so like we had some partnerships with some of those guys, which like some funny things happen, some bad situations happen. So we had been selling all over the U.S. since really the start, and we were selling through our website, and then we opened up a retail shop. So we have our Venice shop, and we opened up the USC shop, and then
was that kind of to like pay homage to like the fact that that's where these guys were coming from?
Yeah, partially it was part of the strategy, and like we'll get into it, but like this business is, I've been doing this for 8 years. We had like our highs and our lows, and like it's kind of ebbed and flowed. But our strategy originally was like, all right, we want to build, be the best online bicycle brand in the world. And like we were growing, but it wasn't growing at a pace. I mean, we couldn't get it to a point where we like sustain what we were trying to do. So then we kind of did a slight pivot. We're like, well, we have this opportunity, this line in with USC. They're doing this huge $2 billion development. Like, what if we open, retail shops on college campuses, because each year you get new students, and then you got the service aspect.
They're going to see other students riding these bikes and go, where do I get one? Okay. $200-$300, I can spend that for the amount I'm going to need for the next 4 years.
Yep, exactly. So then we opened the USC shop, and that's, retail does well for us, but it's still like an extremely challenging business. Like, and it's hard to scale. It takes a lot of money to build that out. So we'd started the USC shop, and that was part of our strategy. But then we had to continue, like, it still wasn't that sort of like winning strategy. That's like, okay, now I just double down and go open 10 stores. Like, it didn't make sense to grow that way. And so then we really started to, brands had started to hit us up, like Anheuser-Busch or like Goose Island Beer Co. And then like Zico, Coconut Water.
I think you guys did something with Red Bull too at some
Red
point,
Bull,
right?
we've done a ton. I mean, we've done with like, you name any major brand, like we've done at this point, we've worked with. And this is not as much of the forward facing part of our business, but like we've built out this big like custom private label part of our business. And so we're making bikes for Anheuser-Busch, Coca-Cola, but then like Nike, Beats by Dre, we made a custom $10,000 like one of a kind bike that they sold in the Harrods at the London Olympics. And like hotels, we're working with like Marriott, making custom bikes for all their hotels all over the world, hotels all over here in LA. And so we started to like, that business really started to, we were just getting a lot of action in it, and we're like, how do we build this up? And so then we really, over the last few years, like built out this big distribution channel of selling to all these brands across the US for anything from like a hotel bike to like premium incentive bike for employees within a company to like you know, just a custom fleet for like a Netflix office.
Wow.
Right. And like that's been a really like interesting sort of turn and a big part of our business that's really grown over the last few years.
Wow. See, that's genius, because that's what these companies want. They want something that's like customizable directly for their brand.
For sure.
And it creates that experience, whether it's like a Nike event or a Red Bull event, or somebody's paying for that $10,000 bike. Like that's a great look for them, because it's so made for them.
And I think we can do it in a really tasteful way. Like I think our core like values, like what we're best at is like marketing and sales, right? And like we make very beautiful products, and we really stand by that. Like people look at that bike, like the bike I just gave you, and they're like, at first glance, they think that's like $1,000-$2,000 bike. Easy. And like, well, you know, we're selling that for $369, and so it's attainable, and it's like super beautiful. And so then we're able to market, you know, customize them and make them like really, really awesome for a price that's not gonna, you know, kill people.
And it's still, and the direct to consumer is still going to be, that is still the focus of just shipping it right to people's doorsteps. Have you found any drawback? Obviously, I feel like there is no drawback. I feel like of not going down the retail path and just saying we're just doing direct to consumers. We'll have our spot in Venice, which is like our hub. We'll have the spot in USC, but I feel like that is the best bet, is just go right to the direct to consumers.
It's just we like that business. We like that niche. Like the problem you can run into, and like the bike industry is kind of in a tough place. Like there's a lot of change happening, and there's a lot of like traditional big box retailers controlled a majority of the market, and a lot of these guys are getting squeezed and shut down and going bankrupt. Then you have the traditional mom and pop bike shops, but they're also getting squeezed by like Amazon and online e-retailers going direct. And so it's like, you know, I could sell into all these bike shops, but like you got to give them terms. And and then if they don't, you know, and then if they're not paying, you got to go chase them down for money. And like, it turns into a tough business. You got to have an entire like collections team working on that. So for us, like it was, let's focus on direct to consumer, and let's focus on our retail. Like those are two good businesses. And then let's focus on this other part that like makes sense for us, and it's fun, and it's grown like crazy. And that's been like sort of our bread and butter. And not to say like, you know, we may start to expand into other things, other products, and go. There may be a point where we look at retail, but for now, yeah.
What are your thoughts, and what changes have you made having now this whole thing with like scooters, or like one thing that's blowing my mind with LA? I've only been in LA for 2 years, but I've seen this shift where now literally I can go down anywhere in Venice, and outside laying around are going to be rentable bikes, scooters that you can literally pick up off this. For people that aren't listening, this is literally a concept if you have no idea. Literally, people can rent scooters, bikes, and all these different transportation devices on the spot of wherever it is on the streets of LA, and then you can rent it and then drop it wherever you want. Has that made you guys have to make any major adjustments? Because there is two different things. One is owning, and one is just renting. But then part of me goes, well, I could rent this and then not have to worry about it.
Totally.
Versus I want this bike and I have to own it and maintenance it. And if I like take an Uber, now I have to worry about getting it later.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I have an interesting perspective on this whole industry, like the alternative form of transportation industry that's like blown up because of this. So the whole thing is like cities like LA, New York, like all these major cities are getting bigger from a population standpoint year over year, but like there's not more space, right? And so then you put more people in there's not going to be room for cars. It's going to get overcrowded. So there has to be other forms of transportation. That's why these companies are having success. Initially, like in Venice, we did like year over year, we did feel it a little bit, but like I'm a pretty firm believer in the long run, like what this is doing is taking people that normally would have taken a car or maybe taken an Uber, and it's showing them a different way to get around. And like maybe they're not buying a bike now, but like over time, once they realize how much money they're spending on these things, and then they like really get used to it and they enjoy it, actually, then they can look at buying something like a bike, or buying buying a bike from us. I mean, I think it's good for it's great for the environment. It's great for the industry. It's great for us in the long run. We just gotta kind of get through all this craziness and this change that's happening. But yeah, it's we felt it on like the retail side, not as much on the website side. Still, it's not massive all over the U.S. yet, so really I haven't seen much of it. And then like the custom side, it's not.
I also think too is just the aspect of like supply and demand. So you need to get somewhere, and then you go outside and you don't find a bike or a scooter. Now you're screwed. So I feel like also too, it's it's just like cars, right? Some people have been giving up their cars to drive or to take Ubers to have the bearded man pick them up.
Yeah, let's go.
But or if not, then they actually own the car to get themselves around. So I feel like there is always going to be that market that is going to keep showing up and is going to keep buying these bikes.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just like, I don't know, there's something about riding a bicycle. It's just like it's such
timeless.
a timeless, great experience, and like it's an industry that's just
I'm not lying to you. When I was just riding up and down,
right? Like
I haven't felt that sensation. I can't even tell you last time I got on a bike.
It's extremely underrated, man. It's extremely underrated, and that's like for us, a lot of like someone comes in the shop, I'm like they're thinking about getting into bikes. I'm like, just jump on the bike, just take it around the block, like get that feeling, like
brings you back as a kid.
Yeah, it brings you back, and it's like that's something you can't really replace. I mean, yeah, you can ride a scooter around, an electric scooter or something, but like I don't know. I'm a firm believer that that's like a timeless thing that people are gonna do forever.
Yeah, you know? we talked about just a minute ago about how like you guys have done like these partnerships, right, with brands. On top of that, a couple things you guys also have done. You did like the Fixtapes, which is like mixtapes that was curated by you guys. I feel like that was before the whole Spotify wave, which is cool that you guys were creating playlists for people to listen to as they were riding their bikes to work, to school, to whatever. I thought that was really unique. There was a couple other things you guys have. You did the artist series, which I thought was really dope. You guys have been putting out visual content for a minute now, which is great to see. Brands invest into that to show like the lifestyle of Soleil. How do you think doing these types of things is strengthening the brand? As we talked about before the podcast, like doing things like that isn't directly getting you money. Even you had done the recent event with Demi, with 12 Tribe and Asotros. That's not directly necessarily getting you sales, but it's building a stronger presence on Soleil. So what has been the strategy behind that of like getting your name out there without saying, give us your money, you need to buy a bike now?
For sure. So early on, it was I go back to like we weren't the typical bike guys. Like we had guys.
Your Instagram says that not your ordinary bicycle company. Yeah, this is great. These guys are legit. Like they're just telling it how it is.
Like we weren't. I was coming from the music world. Yeah. We had a couple other partners that came from the music world. Benny was like very into the fashion world, and like so all this. We were just going after things. We were coming up with ideas that related to us, and it was like the Fixtape was a great concept. Like this guy Dave Lamels that worked with us, he was a pretty big DJ on the West Side, and he's like, why don't we come up? He's like, I'll do the first one. Let's just come up with an hour-long mix of what you would want to listen to riding your bike, and we'll brand it. The artwork is super important, like how we do like the cover for each one, and he did that, and then he tapped into his friend groups of like pretty big DJs, so like Treasure Finger, RAC, Breakbot, like all these. They got a couple good ones, and then it just snowballed after that. And we were getting all these guys were doing it for free, for a bike, right? Because they hit them up like, dude, that'll work, get a bike, and that turned into like a massive marketing thing for us. Like we were pushing this. Through SoundCloud. We're probably the only bicycle company in the world that has a SoundCloud page, and we've got like 15,000 followers on it.
That's legit. That's
like
legit.
Over like 10 million listens to all of our Fixtapes. We're going on to I think it's our 70th. We'll be doing this. So the Hayden James, the mix. We recorded his mix when he played at the party with Demi and them, and that's gonna be a live. It'll be a live version of our Fixtape 70, I think. So that was just like an organic thing that like it was just like that was us. Like we listen to music when we're riding, so let's create an hour-long mix, and then we just tapped in our network, and like it just snowballed. The events, I mean, that was also just a natural thing, right? We were in Venice, and we were trying to connect our friends and all these people, so we would host these events, and some of them would be just like small rides or that ended up building, our biggest ride we ever did was like 250 people from our Venice shop to like a little park between Manhattan Beach and Playa del Rey.
Unbelievable.
Shut down the one completely.
I was just going to ask. Dude, sometimes I'm driving, I'm like, here they come, and like, you got to stop.
No,
there's like 100 bicyclists
we got people ride, with music attached in the back, and then, and there's like a barbecue going on and like a live band and like, wow. And then, so we do the events, we would do, the Fixtapes, do the partnerships. So we're talking like the art bikes. Again, we have tons of friends that were artists. So we would actually have them, we'd give them the bike, strip down the paint and be like, hey, have this be your canvas. Like,
amazing. Come
up. And we do like then an art show with it. But again, this is just like drawing from our sort of like network and our experience. And this all really helped develop the brand and set us apart from like no other bike companies was doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And so, again, like you said, there's no direct return on investment from like make our bike. We're not like selling them, but we're creating that content, we're building that brand, and that sort of word of mouth really spread and helped really develop Soleil into what it is today. This amazing lifestyle.
Has there any, like right now, are there any other ideas that you're kind of toying with, that you've been thinking about that you can speak on? Is there anything that you think would be a cool next step? Because I feel like you're hitting on everything. You're doing the events, you're doing...
Yeah.
I think the real, obviously, it sounds like is probably the big one is the giving the bike to a Nike, to Red Bull, and saying create whatever you want.
There'll be an interest. So the whole thing I was telling you, I think before this, is like the event we did with, and again, I got like the event background, so this is like sort of like a passion part of like the business for me.
Like, I got this, guys.
There's only so many spreadsheets and like supply chain things and warehousing, like that stuff's got to get done. But whenever I can work on this stuff and develop this, that's like sort of like a fun pet project for me within the business. And so we, Demi's got this like amazing, Demi with 12 Tribe, she's got this amazing, office right on the beach in Venice. And we like come up with this idea of like, all right, let's do an event here. And, with the sun setting in the back, so people overlooking the ocean as the DJ's playing. And I always had been in touch with the Future Classic guys, which they're the Australian record label. They've got like Flume, Hayden James, all these big guys, Touch Sensitive. And we'd been trying to work something out with them for forever. And so like finally he was like, I connected with Joel over there, and he was like, hey, we got Hayden James got this, debut album coming out. We want to work something out. And I was like, we got Demi's location. I was like, this is perfect. But it was like, how do we, it's only one thing to like make an event, but like, how do we make this into something bigger? And so we actually recorded the whole thing boiler room style, and it's going to get released on a YouTube channel. It's got like 8 million subscribers. I can't say which one yet, but like, yeah, it's getting cut together and it's going to get released. So that's a cool progression of like that, again, is what bike company's doing that. And this could build into, this was just the first test. We could build that into this whole entire series within it, and obviously incorporate the bikes. We're help leading this. We're bringing everyone together. It doesn't directly, it's not about bicycles per se, but it's like we're incorporating ourselves, and like that's another way to just continue to develop the brand and like really grow it. So that's something I'm excited about. Yeah. We're working on a big. I can't even. I don't want you to regret it. I don't want you to regret it. There's a big media thing that we're working on, but I can't even. I like it. But stay tuned. Like check back in like 6-12 months, and like that. You may be seeing something big, but yeah, that's
It's good. There's always that. I think what the important thing is that there's always. You're looking for the next thing. Mm-hmm. You're always looking for what's the next strategy. Mm-hmm. How can we develop Soleil to bigger? How can we get the brand awareness, something different?
Yeah.
I think the key is knowing that I got a quote. It's one of the Blake. I don't know if it's Blake in Movement that says it or Jake, or if it's everybody movement. But they say what got us here today won't get us there tomorrow.
For sure.
And I think that's the key, is always continuously like trying to think outside the box. What can we do that's going to be a little bit different?
For sure.
What's been some of the, I know, doing some research there, like any business, like any passion project in this world, you are going to run into some obstacles. I read that there have been lawsuit issues. There have been, running out of money multiple times, manufacturing issues, scaling back the team, and then rebuilding it up. What can you think of as one of the biggest obstacles? And you're laughing because you probably... I feel like it's always great to look back on the moments, because you probably can laugh now thinking like, I really was so stressed out and didn't know what we were going to do and figured it out.
For sure.
What have been some of the biggest obstacles you faced with Soleil?
Yeah, it builds character for sure. It builds character. So look, we've been doing this for 8 years, so there's a lot of them. But we'll some of the crazier ones, I guess. So I was 20, and we were just... So we're dealing with our second manufacturer. And we end up going, this is leading into our first lawsuit, but we're dealing with our second, we're dealing with our second manufacturer. And, we, bikes come in, we do a big 1,000 bike order. And in unison of the bikes coming in, we partnered with Fab.com. And at the time, Fab was like, they'd just been valued at $1 billion. They were being called like the cool version of Amazon. Like they had all this hype, and it was like we were kind of riding the wave with them. And we host a big sale, give them an allocation of like probably 600 bikes. Like let's blow this out of the water. Let's see what we do.
Wow.
And we end up selling like 450 bikes in like a 10-day period, and all these bikes are coming in on this order. So it's crazy. It was like the biggest sale ever on Fab. It's like crazy for us. Like we're super stoked. Bikes come in, and we start shipping them. And then we start getting emails, and it's like customer service this, and we end up 70% of the bikes have defect issues. And what
type of defect?
So bikes are really, really tough, man. Bikes, if I can make any recommendation, don't start a bike company. Bikes are fucking hard, man. So like the thing about it is like we're like one of the first companies who direct to consumer bicycle sales. So actually shipping the bicycle box via UPS or FedEx. Traditionally, bikes would come in and they're shipped on a pallet LTL. So it doesn't get as beat up as like the FedEx guys hawking them in the trucks and everything. And so anyway, so we had to eventually had to re-engineer the packaging and everything. But this specific run of bikes had like like it was the rim, the wheel, it goes through like the crank arm, and it was just done slightly wrong on all of them. And so what was happening is just one little spoke was popping off on every single one. So it wasn't even like a major issue, but it's something that was like big enough to like you gotta do something about it. So like 70% of these 450 bikes are having issues. We're having to send people, new bikes, new sets of rims, or they're just returning it outright. I mean, we've got these Excel lists of like hundreds of lines of like, all right, we're doing this for this one, this one, this. I mean, it was crazy. All hands on deck to deal with this, right? And so then we're like coming out of pocket for a lot of the stuff. And, we have an advisor and we're like trying to figure out what to do. And we had these bikes on terms from the supplier, which is kind of an unheard of thing. And what I mean by terms is like we owed him the money in like 60 days. And so our attorney and our advisor is just like, look, you need to send all this to them and they need to pay for all of it.
Because it's their fault, right?
Yeah, it's their fault. It was their fault. And if they don't, just like don't pay them until it gets you guys come to resolution. So we had sent them this list. I mean, it was a crazy amount of money that we lost because of it. And they're just like, no, like you need to pay us full. And so we just like didn't pay them. And like it went back and forth for a while. And eventually we just like didn't hear from them. And we're just like, oh God. And like, sure enough, I'm sitting in the office one day and I get served a letter from, a lawyer. Basically, you've been served a lot, they're suing us. And at the time, I'm like 20 years old and like, I'm like, oh, I don't know, I don't know. I've never been sued before, so I don't know what I'm getting myself into. So we know it's going to be like an expensive process, or like, do we even like, is this going to be worth it? Is this just going to totally shut the company down? Like, how are we going to go against these guys? And so we end up like hit up a bunch of lawyers that they're telling us it's going to be like 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. The money that we don't have to do this.
Just for them.
Just to fight this.
Oh, wow.
And then we on top of that owe them like $150,000, the factory. So I'm just like, we're just like getting to the end of it. We're basically think we're fucked. And we end up getting linked up with this guy. I won't say his name, but we'll call him JB.
Shout out to JB.
Yeah, JB. Love you, brother. Would not be here without you. So JB ends up, he's about a 30-year-old guy, and he's not your traditional lawyer. When you think about lawyers, you think like very like, clean cut, by the book sort of guys. This guy's
unless you watch Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul.
Yeah, there we go.
We got a little bit under that.
So JB's got like fully tatted from, if he's wearing a suit, you can't see a single tattoo, but like anything that a suit covers, like he's got tattoos all the way up
in the body.
Just like very street smart dude, badass dude.
Yeah.
And law's an interesting thing. Like you gotta have like sort of you have a very creative approach when you come up with like case study and like all this stuff. So he had this very like different perspective, and he was like, all right, listen, Jim, here's how we're going to do this. Like, I know you can't afford me, and I know you can't afford other lawyers. So instead of me doing the work, I'm going to teach you what you have to do, and you're going to go build the case, right? Because really what it goes into, you have to come up with a case theory, and then you have to go build a timeline of everything that's happened, and then you have to just understand it completely, and then you have to just
present it.
Yeah, present it and go back and forth. And so, like, I was tasked with the project of, like, building this massive timeline, understanding when everything came in, what happened, and he just like guided me on it. So like instead of paying him to do all this, I was doing it. We saved a ton of money doing this, went back and forth, ended up going into, presented all of our findings to them, went into a deposition. Do you know what a deposition is?
I should. It's like,
so a deposition is where they sit you down and you're under oath. You're not in court, but you're under oath. So everything
they're trying to solve it before they get to the court. Okay,
exactly. And so they're gung ho on like their case theory is like, you guys had a bill, you didn't pay the bill, and we're like, whoa, listen. All right, there's a lot more to this. Like you guys sent us the fucked up bikes, like all these different things, built out this whole thing, and so we go in for the deposition, and it was definitely like an intimidation thing. So I sit in their lawyer's office, and he, it's like this big, beautiful office in Long Beach, and they've got like, it's overlooking the ocean. I'm me, and you're the head lawyer. You got a head lawyer, and then you got 2 associates on each side, plus someone filming me, plus someone doing like a little. It's not a typewriter, but the little to
write.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So there's like 5 people watching me, and then there's a stack of papers like about 8 inches off the table, and there's like 38 exhibits that we're going through, and so each one there's like.
This is the stuff that you had created?
This is stuff they created, and they're questioning me under oath, right? And so I end up having this like 8-9 hour sit down with these guys.
Do you have anybody with you?
I've got my lawyer. And he trained me. The homie? Yeah, the homie. Okay. JB. So like I'm sitting there, and like basically if there's any sort of hiccup or anything that goes wrong, it could blow the entire case, and it's done.
On both parties?
Mostly on my, because their case theory is pretty straightforward. It's like, we owe them money, and we haven't paid them.
Gotcha.
Whereas like we're trying to get all these other things, right? We're showing that like there was all these damages, these issues. And so, yeah, we're sitting there, I go through like 9 hours of questioning, and like get to the end of it, and like I had basically answered everything correct. We held our ground, like got through it, and that really, like, they threw in the towel after that. They're like, all right, this is to the point where it's getting too expensive for both parties. Like, let's like figure out how to settle this. And so end up like our lawyers go back and forth, end up settling for like significantly less than what we owed them, and was able to pay it off over a year and a half, to where we survived through it, and like we ended up still down from all the damages, but like we were surviving, and we had gotten through this lawsuit. And at the time I was like 20 years old, and I'll talk about like
you're in school still.
Yeah,
and you're now trying to build out your case.
Yeah, so that was an interesting experience for sure.
What do you think was the big takeaway from that?
The big takeaway from that, pick your suppliers wisely. Yeah. Pick your suppliers wisely.
Thorough.
And quality control is super crucial, man. Especially for a product like ours. Like, we got 20 some odd parts on the bike. Like, any one little thing can like really fuck you up.
So the best way to have avoided something like that would have been just crack open one box, check the entire bike, make sure that one's good.
Proper quality control on both ends.
Yeah.
And just like, we really dialed up our packaging, and we invested a ton in that, invested a ton in like getting everything, the process to like when the bike is from when it's painted, when it's put in the box, like we have it so dialed now. So
what is that process right now? Where is it create, without going to any specific details, but like
for sure,
lightly.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick rundown of how it all goes down. So 99, I'll preface with 99% of the bikes that are sold in America are made in either China or Taiwan.
Okay.
So we manufacture right outside of Hong Kong.
Yep.
We have a place, an assembler, where like all the parts will come in, and then at the assembler, the frames and forks will be painted, everything's put on an assembly line and put together, 90% assembled, and then boxed up.
Wow.
And then those boxes, call it like 360 of them in a container, will then be shipped, into Long Beach, taken out to our warehouse in East LA.
Wow.
And then from there, we can ship FedEx straight to consumers, or to like, if you're gonna buy 10 plus, put them on a pallet and ship them to wherever.
Wow.
But yeah.
So it's going right from China to Long Beach to the warehouse in East LA. And then is that like a third party that does the shipping for you?
Exactly.
So you don't have to worry about
center.
it.
Yeah. Wow. Sort of like, it's good for us. Like, we're want to focus on sales and growing the business. So outsourcing things like, warehousing, and like, we're not specifically manufacturing the bikes, but like, we work with a manufacturing partner that kind of puts all of our specific parts together. Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a process, man.
It's great. Oh, it's talk about learning experience. Talk about like going to China and just like seeing this stuff is like, it's truly like true manufacturing. You don't really see it anymore here, because, in the 20s and 30s, America was the Industrial Revolution. That's when America was the manufacturing capital of the world. Then Americans started to get, they didn't want these dirty jobs. They didn't want these tough jobs. So like, it started to farm out to places like Japan, and eventually like China, and then those places really started to invest in it, right? And like, for us, we didn't want those jobs. We slowly, more and more, it got pushed over, outsourced. Those kids are, going to schools, they're figuring out like, are we going to trade school? Like, when you're in middle school, elementary school, learning things about like how to do welding, how to operate CNC machines, how to do all this infrastructure to run a factory or work in a factory. So they invested in it heavily, and now like, as a result, they're like, Shenzhen's the manufacturing capital of the world. You can go there and see, it's crazy, like
just warehouses,
factories. Like the hub that's on our bike, there's a machine that's like puts 2 tons of pressure, just slams down a brick of just raw metal and out spits a freaking hub. And then he's sticking in this like $500,000 like machine from Holland that like, shaves it off, the CNC machine. So, and then you see like the welding and the painting process and all that. It's like, it's actually really, really cool to see.
Wow.
It's super interesting. Learned a ton. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's what, right? You get to go over there and visit and see what's going on, and you're getting to see firsthand on how this is being produced. And
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
What, I mean, outside of like the branding aspect of Soleil, what do you want to see happen for the company next? I mean, obviously looking at the website, you guys have these different lines and different colors. Mm-hmm. Are you considering maybe like a different bike itself, or you just want to keep pumping out different styles? Like where do you see?
For sure. So over the next year, we're going to look at expanding some other products, and I can't really talk about it yet. Okay. But yeah, we're going to expand into some other products, some things that align with the brand and then align with sort of our distribution strategy. And then we're going to continue. I mean, on the branding side, we're going to continue to push events and push the boundary on the people we're going to bring in from Fixtapes, push the boundary on people we're going to partner with.
Yeah.
That's just organically going to continue to grow. And then, we have like this other thing that's kind of happening out here that I can't
wait to cut this clip in 6 months, 12 months from now and be we were talking about it. And now it happened.
Yeah. So that's something else that we're like, I'm working on weekly to try to make it happen and be really big for us, a big step. So
I love that.
Yeah.
So right now, as of today, you've been with the company for 8 years. You're the president. John, Jacob, and Brian, I believe, are they the board of directors?
No, they're
something.
You call it something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But John and Jake, they're off doing their own businesses.
But of the five, it's you and Ben that are still heavily involved.
Ben's no longer with us either.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ben's gone, Brian's gone. Jake and John were out early. So Paul Oakley is like sort of my main partner now, and then Jordy Auclair, she's our COO. Johnny Oval runs all retail operations. He's our service guy. He's a beast.
Yeah.
Under him, little Mike, and then Ian's running our retail Venice. There we got like Ted, Walter. So yeah, we still got a lean team. I mean, it was a crazy, like you hear a lot of these stories from these different entrepreneurs, and a lot of them have like, all right, we started a business, grew it to here, and like there was a pivot, but like there was there's a trajectory that was like pretty upward the whole time. For us, like we grew super fast early on, and then we sort of like flattened out for a bit, and then had a big sort of like had to have a big restructuring, and like kind of business like almost like died off. Wow. And had to like bring the team from 15 to 2.
Wow.
And then now we've been rebuilding over the last like 2.5 years. And so that was like a crazy experience to go through. And like, it's tough. Like sometimes you got to make some really tough decisions. You got to know to pivot. Otherwise, like it was to the point for me where it was like, the business was going to fail and I was going to have to walk away, and there was going to be consequences because of that, or I have to make some tough decisions and we have to pivot and like go a different path.
It takes a lot to go from the upward trajectory to then cutting the team down to 2.
For sure.
And then believing, like, even through that process, believing we still have what it takes to then rebuild again to now wherever you're at today.
For sure. Yeah. And it's, it's exciting to be growing again, but like there was some dark times there, man. There were some really, really dark times, and not every entrepreneurial journey is like all roses and, good times. Like there's a lot of tough shit that happens, and, you just got to keep a good mindset, and you got to really like know what you want, and you got to be able to make these hard decisions sometimes. It was crazy. It was crazy. I had to, I went from having all my best friends work with me to having to, go a different path from these guys. And, it's that in itself was like a really, really tough experience, but I'm here today.
Yeah.
Like, they're all living, they're all doing their thing.
Yeah.
The business is growing again, and we got through it. And like that process and going through that builds character, and like, yeah.
And how do you keep that passion still the same 8 years later? That's a long time, man.
Yeah, man.
What do you think keeps adding fuel to the fire? Why do you keep still doing this?
It's, you hear it from a lot of entrepreneurs about like the burnout, right? And like overdoing it. And like for me, I've always, and it's especially going through that, like you have to figure out how to maintain balance, right? You have to figure out how to disconnect and maintain balance. And for me, like I have like sort of my core principles, right? Like, it would be like friends and family, it's personal health, it's work, are like my top three, and they all kind of like are in unison.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth would be like experiences and travel, right? And it's like, the thing is like, if you're super low, if you're not making the money you want to make, or if you're in a bad spot, like, you always got to find a way to be happy, because money's not going to make you happy one day, or like, it might, but like, you can't bank on money or like having something else in the future to make you happy. You have to figure out how to be happy today. And like, if what you're doing is not making you happy, then like, you got to fucking change it. And so for me, I always maintain those kind of core four values, and like, I don't overdo any of them. And so, like we were talking about earlier, like the travel, like, you know, if I'm going through a hard time, I always can find a way to get out of LA or get out of America and like go see something. And like, that allows me to reset, refocus myself, and like, you know, find my center. You know, spending time with my family, spending time with my friends, like, these things balance me, and that's always allows me. It's like a reset to get me back to like, all right, back on track. Like, let's get back at this. So it's really figuring out a way to, you know, maintain that balance. Has allowed me to keep that passion and keep that fire and keep going at it, even through like the really tough times.
To keep going, add that fuel. I think the balance is always the tough part that we have to figure out for ourselves. But from time and time again, you hear successful entrepreneurs talking about it. One that jumps to my mind as I'm saying this was that caught me off guard is literally within the first 60 seconds of Jake's podcast, Jake Hass and a Movement. That was the first question I asked him. Was, I'll never forget it because I couldn't believe the answer. I asked him, what's changed the most about you in 5 years since starting? And appreciating like the balance and realizing like,
for sure,
slow down, enjoy life. Like, you have to put your head down for some years, but at the same time, you got to find ways to kind of enjoy that.
You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You get hit by a bus. You could be taking your Soleil out and taking out, man. I hope it doesn't happen tomorrow.
You're going to see me disappearing. The bike is just going to be rolling. Like the ones that, with the spoke is going to be just like slowly just boom, 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 boom.
No, but in all seriousness, man, like, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, man. And so you got to you gotta live life. Like, you got to work your ass off. You got to show up every day and, you know, put your best foot forward, but you also got to get out there and live life. Like, you can't be working today for a life in 40 years. Like, this is our prime. Like, this is when we're going to live our best life. Like, you got to get out and experience it. And so that's been for me, like, again, I've always like emphasized like getting out and doing things, experiencing things. Like, because one, I want to have those stories. I want to wake up. If I'm going to die tomorrow, I want to be able to, you know, sit there on my deathbed and be like, I lived my fucking life. I did it, you know. Built a business. I saw the world. I made great friendships. I made great stories. Like, I lived my life.
Balance, travel.
Balance, man. Balance, So, again. So with the travel side of it, like, I've always emphasized it. And then I've also, you learn a lot traveling, right? You get that reset. You get to experience different things. It humbles you. So like, you gotta get out there. You gotta maintain that balance. Figure out what your core value is. Like, what are your pillars that hold you together, and make sure you maintain a good balance between all of them. Super crucial.
What's the one? So thinking back to the Jimmy when he was getting approached to be part of the Soleil team, right? Like those your junior year. What's going off everything you just said, what's the one advice you would give to him as he's about to embark on this journey with unknown idea of where he's going, but knowing what you know now? What's the one advice you'd give him?
I would say enjoy the ride, right? And I think like through those years, I was like extremely stressed through those tough times, and I would get so frustrated, and like there were times where I would just like go through these like states of really true like depression for sure, like not being able to sleep, like not knowing what the fuck I was gonna do, and like just figure out a way to enjoy the journey, enjoy the day to day, and like as long as you wake up every day and you put your best foot forward, you're gonna fucking figure it out, right? There's nothing we're doing here is gonna kill us. Like the running a podcast is gonna kill us. Running a bike business is gonna kill me. Some shit might happen, you know, things might not go your way, but like it's not gonna kill you. So like enjoy the journey and put your best foot forward every day, and you'll figure it out. As long as what you're doing, you're happy with what you're doing, and you're passionate about what you're doing, you'll figure it the fuck out.
Yeah. As long as you have some sense of direction of where you're trying to go, everything else kind of falls into place. I was literally telling you before the podcast, like I started the podcast, that was the vehicle, and then everything else kind of just slowly but surely kind of falls into place with time. Yeah. What scares you the most today?
What scares me the most?
Yeah.
Like anything?
Anything.
Like spiders? No.
You're like the second person, like a couple podcasts, like spiders. What scares you?
Man, to be honest, outside of business, like the thing that scares me the most is like this global warming stuff, and like how we really treat the earth and how we treat the environment. Like, and you just see it with like the change of weather patterns. You see the wildfires happen in LA. You see it on the west side. Like there hasn't been a summer yet. It's been like literally gloomy.
It's been out here too.
Same thing. It's this stuff's real. Like it's happening. And like, yeah, for me, like I one day want to have a family. I want to have a wife and kids. And I'm like, I do second guess like bringing a kid into this world. Because I'm like, what is this place going to be like in 20, 30 years? So that's something I think about a lot. And it does scare me. I mean, that's why I like to tell people, like, get out of your car and ride a bike. It's better for you.
Yeah.
It's better for the environment.
Yep.
Like, you're going to be happier.
Put some funds in my man Jimmy's pocket.
Let's go.
Damn.
Save the earth.
Save the earth and get on a Soleil and pedal off into the sunset, will you? Damn. I love that.
Yeah.
And I know you would appreciate this question just going off of that because I know you're a Rogan fan. What about technology? You like that it's moving the way it is, or do you think there's going to eventually be I never get into these types of conversations, but knowing you're a Rogan fan.
It's interesting. I just read a book, Everything is Fucked by, I'm forgetting his name. Yeah.
You got his book right over there.
Yeah.
Book about hope.
Book about hope.
Yep.
Have you finished it? Oh, I don't want to
finish it.
Okay.
I finished it.
So there's the whole thing at the end.
Oh yeah. Remember you chimed in? Yeah, you chimed in on the IG story the other week.
Yeah. So like the whole thing about AI, I took that spin.
Yeah.
And right, like technology, I think it's already ingrained in our culture. It's ingrained in everything we do. It's the AI is what got me here today via Google Maps, and like the AI is what's working when you search something on Google, or like, you know, it's so ingrained in our culture. I think it's just going to continue to and that's like, you don't think of Google as evil, you don't think of the Waze as evil, like you don't think of these things. It's just slowly becoming a part of our life, and it's making our life easier. So like I don't the whole like computers are gonna like take us over and kill us, like I think that's a fantasized sort of thing. I don't know if that's practical, but no, I think technology is great. It's allowed, you know, look at the business that I was able to, you know, or not myself, but my team and I were able to create. It's like I'm able to run my business from anywhere in the world because of, you know, email, and because we're running an online business, and like, you know, and like that wouldn't have been possible without technology, you know, 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, like it's not possible. So it's like technology is helping us live these better lives.
100%.
Like, I'm all about it.
Dude,
I'm excited to see how it's going to continue to develop.
I wouldn't be able to run a bedrudio out of my bedroom studio podcast right now if it wasn't
20
for
years ago,
advanced technology. These lights would cost me thousands of dollars, a camera, these mics, because of technology and advancing. That's what made everything else cheaper and gave us these opportunities that I literally, YouTube is like a television network. My YouTube channel essentially is my network. I can create whatever I want under it. So it's like, you got to jump on it. But I think we're at a perfect moment in time of living, because technology's really advanced a lot. Things are a lot easier, but we're not necessarily at this like churn of, it's going to get crazy, man. I don't know if maybe we'll see in our lifetime, but Elon Musk is going to be shooting up regularly to Mars, and you're going to be able to go for a weekend getaway. I really believe in that stuff, and that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But I personally think it's inspiring that we're even at a point in our world where we can have these conversations of the what ifs, because
for sure
it's actually being done. These spaceships are getting shot up into the air. He's putting tunnels under the ground. You can buy a Tesla and the car literally drives itself. We're starting to get so numb to the fact that
because it's happening
so quickly. But 10 years ago, that was not.
It's not even.
Nobody was talking about that.
Yeah,
people like Elon had the concepts, but like it's now a thing. You know, it's crazy to me.
It's crazy. It's exciting, and you gotta just gotta.
You gotta
enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the ride, and you better be on a Soleil pedaling into that sunset. What do you think is one of your greatest strengths?
Greatest strength.
Yeah.
I think like probably what I've learned running a business that I'm best at would be like problem solving, and I think that's just like across the board. Like I enjoy problems. I was always like, I liked puzzles growing up. I liked doing like little like Sudokus and stuff, and I think you're running a business, like you start a business, oftentimes you're fixing a problem.
Yeah.
That's on a large scale, but then even on a day-to-day basis, like you're fixing all these little, we call them fires.
Mm-hmm.
And we have it, constantly putting out these fires, fixing these problems. And that's something I've just really always enjoyed, and I think I've gotten pretty good at.
Yeah. Gary Vee's a big fan of putting out fires. That's what he always talks about. He's like,
we got this joke in the office.
I'm a firefighter.
Like, we're gonna get everyone firefighter hats because it's just like the net.
Dude, that'd be great. Sound the alarm when something goes. Jimmy comes dropping down from the floor on his little freaking pole. Dude, that'd be epic.
I love it. There we go.
People are gonna be applying to work for you when that happens. Holy shit. How has your definition of success changed over the years, do you think?
For sure. Growing up, like, and early on in business, I think the theme, or like something that was really like the main goal was like making money, right? Like, so you tie people that make a lot of money to being super successful. And I think going through this process and building 2 businesses and seeing the highs and lows of those businesses is what you realize is like money is not the end all. Like, it is not. It is definitely great. It's great to make money, and it opens up opportunities for you. You can pay for things that you can't get. But like, success is so much more than that. Like, success is the ability to wake up and control your destiny. Success is the ability to create something. The success is to be able to do something that is able to change people's lives. Like, so like for me, it's really, and it continues to change every day. But the biggest sort of change would be like, it's not all about money. There's so much more.
Yeah.
There's so much more.
Yeah. You need the money to fund the things that actually bring you like the true happiness and the true joy. But we so many times think that the car, the bike, not to disrespect the bike, but like the shoes.
$369, man, you can afford that anytime. We got a firm too, so we'll finance it, $20 a month.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that. But I really liked how earlier you had said like experiences. That to me, I have found to be what really brings the most joy and the happiness to me is experiences, traveling or trying new restaurants or meeting new people. Or to me, this is an experience. This one day is going to be my full-time career, and it's going to be great because it's going to blend as experiences and a way to make a living. But I think that's where most of us can probably find the true happiness is, or true success is doing, the experiences or things that kind of push us and help us get outside of our comfort zone.
For sure.
What would you say is Jimmy's purpose? Jimmy Standley's purpose.
Jimmy's purpose.
Yeah.
Jimmy's purpose. Interesting. To put as many bicycles out there in the world as possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For now, that's really my goal, right? Like, we're putting, anytime someone comes into the shop and like is really stoked to finally get back into biking or get a bike, and then get them set up on one, and then they ride off into the sunset on one. That's like a really empowering thing, because like people can use that to stay in shape. It's better for the environment. I mean, we had this guy like 6 years ago who came in, and he was addicted to drugs. He was like going down a terrible path, and he had a kid too. He had just gotten a divorce, and he got a Soleil, and he started riding every day for like a couple hours. He got into shape. He got out of drugs. He ended up getting a Soleil tattoo on his arm. And it's like, things like that, like you can really have an impact and change people's lives. So for me, I want to have as much of an impact on as many, positive impact on as many people's lives as possible. And if, selling bicycles is my vehicle, then like, I don't fucking ride that wave, man.
Yeah, man. It's amazing too, because it stems so much back to our childhoods. Everybody can relate to those moments of like riding your bike for the first time, or I vividly can just still remember being in high school right before I got my license. Like, we'd get back from school, I'd hop on my bike, ride to my homie's crib, everybody would meet there. 10 of us would ride out. We would ride for the day. We wouldn't get back until nighttime. But when, before Uber days, now kids are like calling up Ubers. I'm like, yo, you're 13, you have an Uber app? Like, your parents are paying for it? You lucky son of a... But bikes, that was the best way to get around town. So it's still such a childhood type thing, but still provides so much value to people, like health benefits or transportation wise, or just a good way to clear the mind and put on some music, hopefully a fixtape, and go out and cruise around. But before I get to the closing questions, this is when I reverse the role. I allow the guest to ask me any one question. It'll be about something we talked about today, something you want to know about me. 2 rules. 1, it can't be directly about the podcast.
Okay.
And 2, it can't be a question I already asked you today.
For sure.
Any one question.
So this is a question I like to ask like other entrepreneurs or other people that are running business or whatever. And to preface it, I think like you're gonna learn the most not from people's successes, but I think you learn a lot from people's failures. And so I'm gonna ask you, like, what is, and maybe it's not a failure, but it's a learning experience. Like, what's your biggest failure or learning experience
in general?
In general, in all of life.
Ooh, I think. Oh man, this one experience, man. And I just forget about it so often because I'm in my life. But like, it was really the first time in my life I had pulled my eyes on a goal. It started off as a failure, but I came around and got to the goal.
Sure.
So the failure was I had applied to my number one school going into college was Bentley University, top business school in the Northeast. I told you before, I wanted to go into corporate America. It was the dream to me. Everything Bentley branding. It was outside the city of Boston. I wanted to move an hour and a half west of Boston. It was going to be amazing. Blah blah blah. I'll never get the moment of walking to the gym that day. Many emailed saying we regret to inform you you are not accepted at this university. Blah blah blah. And it was like I was heartbroken. I just like put on the music. I went into the gym. Just like livid. I had allowed myself to get so emotionally attached to this one school that I had applied to other schools, but I just was like, I need to go. And so at the time I'm thinking like, that is the failure. That's the biggest failure. Like at the time of my life, I'm like, I didn't get into my dream school and how hard is this going to be? And what it taught me was after that fact, I get into LaSalle College, and that's where I ended up going to school for my freshman year, right outside of Boston. Ends up being the next town over from Bentley. So I'm going to school at LaSalle. I have like this chip on my shoulder of like, they don't want to let me in. Fuck them. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to prove to myself that it's not about SAT scores. It's not about how I was doing in high school. I'm going to put in the work. And so while at LaSalle, I end up having my freshman year like a 3.7 GPA. I'm part of like student government. I'm involved. I'm kicking ass. I'm part of the leadership program. And I went into that year just with the chip on my shoulder. I wanted to prove to myself. And not until the springtime, I had the idea to apply to transfer. Buddy of mine, John Williams, great friend of mine, he was like, yo, I'm thinking about transferring to Bentley. And I was like, yo, I applied there and I didn't get in. I was like, all right, if you're doing it, I'm just going to go for it. And I ended up getting in. And I ended up graduating from Bentley University.
There we go.
So at the time, it was the biggest failure in my life, truthfully. It felt like, and it's a good failure. Yeah. Looking back on it, but do you think, failure.
Like, and then you had that chip on your shoulder, and then you go to school, and you get that good GPA, and it's like, had you gone in, and maybe you'd be like, all right, well, I'm the fucking big shot. I got in. Maybe I'm going to party a little bit harder. I'm going to kind of coast through, right? But then that built that character, and you probably put a foundation in place that year. It's probably stuck with you to this day.
Because when I started this podcast, it wasn't the main thing that came to my mind, but I just remember I had this vision for what I wanted to create, and I was like, it's the same thing. It's the same thing of what I did with Bentley. Like the school at the time didn't believe in me. That's fine. There's not going to be people that believe in this brand. Totally fine. But I saw it through. I worked my ass off, and I did what I had to do that full year with nobody checking in on me saying, are you doing good? You're transferring. I did it. I put in the work. I had the chip on my shoulder, and that's exactly what I've done with this. So I took that same character, and that even stems back to like starting off when I was 12, working for my uncle, like first job I ever had. So it's like all those little disciplines had built up, but it's just even what's crazier is then I get into that school that I had so much worked my ass off to get to, and then through it I realized I don't actually want to do what I thought I wanted to do. What I came here to do, which was go into the corporate world, which is what that school was built. They were like a manufacturing for top corporate school, like finance, accounting, like that's what they were huge on. But yeah, I mean that was at the time a failure. But clearly I was able to work my way through it, and
see that those moments build character, and that's another thing I'm a big proponent on. Is like go the hard way, or like do the hard thing. Like don't take the fucking easy route, because those like hard experiences, every time you go through that, you're resetting your bar a little bit higher. You know, like going through that, as long as you live through it, like you're gonna get better, and you're gonna learn from that, and it's gonna stick with you, and you're just gonna keep building on it. And so like Yeah.
You can
it's never a failure, right? It's a learning experience that ends up working out. As long as you got that fire and you got that drive, like you'll get through it, and like it'll be, be a scar that you have, but like that's gonna stay with you and help make you the person you are today.
It's always just a flip of a switch. It's not what did I lose or how is this a failure? It's what did I learn?
Yeah.
How am I gonna put this in my back pocket as fuel moving forward every single time? Closing questions. One, where can people find you on social media? Where can they find Soleil on social media?
For sure. Instagram at Soleil Bicycles, SOLEBICYCLES. Me, you can find me at Jimmy Stans, JIMMYSTANS. We got a Facebook page too, but like Instagram is like where we
all
go off.
The high quality content is.
Check out our website, www.soleilbicycles.com. You can sign up for our emailer. We send it out once a week.
Dope.
You can check out our bikes there if you want to buy one too.
Yep.
We'll ship anywhere in the U.S., Canada, Mexico.
Let's go. Free shipping. Don't forget that.
Free shipping. Not to Canada, Mexico, but anywhere in the U.S. Free shipping. Okay. Yep. Yeah.
I'll have it all plugged up. Make sure anyone that's listening, you head to Jimmy's IG right now. Drop a bunch of bearded man emojis with bicycle emojis.
Let's go.
Just so he knows you came from this podcast today. But before I ask the final question, I want to say thank you for coming in today, man.
Thank you for having me.
An incredible conversation.
Yes.
I knew when you were pulling up and just like seeing your face smiling, I was like, this is going to be a great conversation. And thank you so much for the gift because that was so unexpected and it is so appreciated. And I can't wait to go ride it.
We gotta get it on the mic. This was the best gift you've gotten.
100%. Hold me to it. It'll be 3 years next month on the podcast.
That's a challenge. That's a challenge, you guys out there.
I've ever gotten on the podcast.
Gonna top it?
So thank you so much. Yeah, but honestly, I love what you guys have built with Soleil.
Thank you.
I just love that. What really stood out to me when doing the research for this podcast was it was not just a bicycle brand. It was a lifestyle brand that incorporated bicycles. It was giving people transportation. I love the fact that you guys, it was the whole not your ordinary bicycle company, trying to be something different. The energy you guys have put into the world, just the bicycles itself, everything about it, your story, your passion, your energy. It's amazing, man. And it's conversations like this. It's every time I record a podcast, man, I'm just like, how fortunate am I that I keep finding these people that this is what this podcast is all about. You helped me make my podcast and my brand and my story. So thank you so much for taking the time and sharing it today, man.
Thank you for having me, man. This was a pleasure. My first podcast, and
I
got it done.
Pop champagne. Yeah. Last question for you.
Hit me.
For somebody who's listening, hasn't found that passion, hasn't found out what their true purpose is just yet, what's the best 2 to 3 pieces of advice you'd give to them?
Yeah, put yourself out there and go try things, right? Put yourself out there, go try things. And if you find something, no matter what it is, if it's a money-making thing, if it's just a creative thing, if there's if it brings joy into your life, then just own it and just put the work in. And if you put the work in, put your best foot forward and you hustle, you can bake it into something. You're driving Uber during the day.
We out here, baby. Top 2% in the world, baby.
Right?
Got a sticker.
Hey, let's go.
Let's go.
But look, you put the work in and you just find something you're excited about, and you can wake up every day and just know you're stoked in whatever the fuck you're doing. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And just put your head down and grind, and most importantly, enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Enjoy the fucking journey.
You better be pedaling on that Soleil, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Jimmy Standley, man. Thank you
Appreciate
so much for coming in today, bro.
Man.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
We'll catch you guys next time.
See ya.